Greetings and welcome to Live Your Song, building businesses that make a difference. My name is Cheyenne Kramer and I'm here with my better half,
Don Kramer. Hello, everyone.
and together we bring you all kinds of tips and ideas and interesting stories about how you can be more involved in living your song or figuring out what is that song in your heart that is waiting to be expressed. Because if we have never, ever been at a time in our world where we need more people doing that, now is the time. That's all there is to it. And so today we're really excited to have a guest with us. Her name is Helen Moses, and I've had the opportunity to sit with this gal a couple of times, and I can tell you this gal is living her heart song. So dear, would you be so kind as to
Sure,
introduce
why not?
her?
I'll try. Oh, okay. Today is Helen Moses, is a voice and messaging coach and owner of Command Communications, PLC. Once an authority pleaser who worried about saying the wrong thing out of fear of rejection, Helen now speaks confidently from her heart. As a speech therapist, she has helped people with speech and language obstacles regain their ability to communicate, witnessing their struggles to be heard and understood. Helen has vowed to never take her voice for granted again, which is fantastic. Helen's clients benefit from 30 years of extensive training and experience as a singer, speech language pathologist, distinguished Toastmaster, and state leader with Toastmasters International. Helen holds a bachelor's degree in vocal performance and a master's degree in speech language pathology. She is an accomplished public speaker and facilitator and was a speaker coach for TEDx Raleigh in 2017 and 2018. And I introduce you to Helen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. I don't know about you, but regardless of quarantines and shutdowns and everything else, I seem like I've been busier the last couple of months. I don't know about you.
Some days are like that. Some days are very full of a lot of meetings like this, interviews on Zoom, client meetings on Zoom. Tomorrow I'm doing a 2-hour training to a company on,
Wow.
not on Zoom, but on Microsoft Teams. So I'm also learning a variety of platforms depending on what my audience uses.
Awesome. Well, Helen, we definitely want our listeners to be able to hear your story because, I know that I resonate with some of what you talked about. That's been one of our big challenges is to be able to get to that place of, not trying to just be people pleasers, but to really speak from our heart and speak from our truth. And please go ahead and share with our folks your backstory and what led you to becoming this incredible vocal coach for speaking from the heart.
Well, it's like probably many of you, it's my story is just one thing led to another. And then I look back on it and I'm thinking, oh, well, that all makes sense now. That led me right to where I am. So I'll give you a little bit of those one things that led to another. As you read there in my introduction, I do come from a people-pleasing pattern. And that has been with me from the get-go. And so much so that I would be afraid to let my true opinions out or my true feelings out because I don't like conflict. So I would avoid conflict. I would be scared of rejection if I said something that someone else didn't agree with. There are times growing up when something meant so much to me, a certain goal that I had, that I would just push forward. But for the most part, I kind of hid behind this facade. And I think most people who knew me growing up would be surprised to know that most of the time I was feeling inadequate based on the way I interacted with them. And I ultimately went down the path of getting from my bachelor's in music degree, I went to get a speech language pathology degree because I learned that when you sing, it can make some of those speech and language challenges like stuttering and even things like aphasia, which is a loss of language after a stroke or a brain injury, become less apparent. Your language can become more fluent again when you sing, I think, because it taps in to a different part of your brain. And I was just completely lit up about that. So I went full force into graduate school and loved every minute of it, and loved working with the people who had brain injuries at Wake Med, where I started my career, and helping them, interacting with their families. And that's where I learned, I mean, it is our voices and our ability to exchange information and share those special moments with the people that we love is so foundational to our existence. And when something comes along that impedes a person's ability to connect via communication, via their voice, it's a real struggle for that individual and for the families. So witnessing all of that just made me say, look, I am not going to take my voice for granted. Except I kind of a little bit later did. I found myself doing that again. And that was after I stopped working full-time so that I could be a full-time mom. And I had that opportunity for 8 years to raise my 2 kids and not work. That was something, a gift I wouldn't trade for anything. But in that time, I kind of took my voice for granted again, lost my voice a little bit because I was caring for everybody else, putting everybody else's needs first. I know many parents, especially moms, can relate that I just kind of, okay, it doesn't matter what I have to say, you just do this. And then all of my needs kind of went to the back burner. Then my husband got laid off. He had been supporting our family. So I was like, okay, this is my chance to feel important again. I can go get a job as a speech therapist and support our family again. But I couldn't get a job. I got several interviews, but I never did land a job. And then my husband got another job. And I was thrilled for him and grateful because our benefits were restored and income was restored. But I felt invaluable. Not invaluable, but not valuable. I felt like there was my chance to be important and to do something that mattered, and it was gone. But that was the turning point for me. That was a few months before I launched my business in January of 2013. And I didn't know what I was doing at all.
Most of us don't.
So, I would get going into networking events and I'd be all scared because I'd have to do an elevator pitch. And you'd think that a voice coach would be thrilled to be able to give an elevator pitch, but I would get petrified and scared because I was also a perfectionist who thought, if I don't give the perfect elevator pitch, who would hire me? And that whole imposter syndrome effect was happening. Like, if they found out how I really feel, they would never hire me. Turns out, though, after a few years of this, that I learned that when I told people I was also scared to give my elevator pitch, that actually endeared them more to me. And that's when I started attracting clients, was when I spoke up from my heart, when I said, look, this is hard for me too. And perfection is not attainable. And what I have to say does matter. And in fact, my vulnerabilities matter, and my experiences matter, and my thoughts matter, and everything that I have lived, every moment matters. It adds value to my life and makes me unique. Nobody else has the same experience, the same life story as me, and no one does as you either. And that's what I want to bring out in people, is the realization that we all are valuable just in our own right. And what we have going on is important to get out, because silence, being silent, is not the way. It allows other people to make assumptions about us, and it allows us to have those negative voices start filling in that vacuum in the silence. So it's important for us to speak out, to get in touch with what's really inside, what really matters to us, and how we want to impact the world. And it's my mission today to help entrepreneurs, authors, business owners, professionals who work in businesses or on sales teams or customer service teams, to take what they have and make an impact in a way that they haven't been able to before because they hadn't been aligned with their value.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so you've made this incredible transition. You've shifted in every way possible, because I'm kind of guessing you probably didn't start out thinking entrepreneurship was quite the path for you.
No.
And so many people, that's where we all start. I know when we got involved in entrepreneurship back in the 90s, I mean, neither one of us was really thinking that way at that point in time. So can you please share with folks a little bit more about, and I don't know if you've got any examples you can give, but I really want people to understand the power behind what you're doing right now.
Okay, sure. I'll put it to you this way. Here's a question that I like to ask clients or audiences when I'm speaking. What do you want your voice to communicate about you? Most people haven't considered that question.
That's true.
They haven't considered that not just what they say, but how they say it can make the difference between a successful communication or a non-successful communication.
Well, and they say that a lot of communication really is not about the words you're using either, right?
That is right. There's a controversial study out there, and I say controversial only because it's been misquoted a lot. There's some percentages, and both in this study they found that 93% of a message's meaning, overlying meaning, comes from not the words, but from all the nonverbal cues like body language and tone and facial expressions. But the caveat is that's not just for any type of communication. That's when there's high emotional content involved.
Gotcha.
So if for people who may have heard of that research, it's valid research, but they were looking at what was communicated when, anger or sadness or joy or some of those intense emotions were involved in the conversation or in the communication.
Gotcha.
It still matters though, even in business talk or in just giving a presentation or giving your elevator pitch. It matters because people will tune in or they'll tune out. And I like to ask this question too. If that old question, if the tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, my point is, does it matter? If no one is listening to you or willing to take the time to listen to you, why are you even talking? You're wasting your breath. Right. So what I do for people is help them understand how important these little nuances of how we say what we say matter, and how to amplify the value that they bring through how they say what they say.
Wow. So do you do this mostly through classes or coaching one-on-one? How are you working with people?
Right now, I'm doing everything online, all through Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Teams or GoToMeeting, all these different platforms, whatever, especially for companies. If they have a certain platform that they prefer, I go and use what they prefer. But for me, I usually use Zoom like we're doing right now. And of course, it's all online because of COVID-19. But I'm pivoting a little bit. A lot of what I'm doing, working with both individuals and with business teams, corporate teams, is helping them maximize what they can do through virtual communication. And so, for example, I put this light on. This is my little clip-on light to the top of my laptop that just provides better lighting and makes a bigger difference when I'm communicating online. I'm also looking at you directly I'm looking directly at the webcam, which makes you feel like I'm looking you in the eye. But a lot of people will look down at their keyboard when they're talking, or they'll, look off to the side, and there's a disconnect when that happens. So
Yeah.
a lot of what I'm doing now is just coaching people on how to be more effective through their computer. And then
Mm.
once we get to go back face to face, a lot of those skills will transfer, but in slightly different ways.
Yes. Interesting how all of a sudden we find these new directions and new nuances as a result of what's happening out here, right?
That's right.
Wow. Do you have, I'm just curious, do you have any really cool stories about somebody who's you've been able to work with and help to coach them to kind of a new place in terms of their confidence, or even maybe getting a job when they've been struggling to? I know these are all areas that you work in.
I have many stories. There are several that come to mind. The first one is a friend who's an author, and she was a stutterer as a child. And therefore that interfered in her confidence and her ability to speak from her heart. And she hired me as a one-on-one coach. We did a long-term coaching, and I helped her with her presentations for her book. I helped her just telling her story and getting her voice to reflect her value and her emotions, and to make sure that all of that was in sync with her facial expressions as well. And she's actually got a testimonial on my website. But now she says she's very comfortable speaking, and she goes out to talk about her books. She does videos. She's on Facebook Live all the time. She coaches people virtually, and she's now looking to get into corporate work as well, because think about she actually is a grief counselor because she lost her daughter in a car accident when her daughter was 17.
Mm.
And she helps people. It's more like a grief guide, but anyway, she's able to do what she was meant to do based on her life experience. And she understands that because she has a corporate background, that a lot of people in companies don't really know how to help people who are grieving. Well, right now with COVID, everybody's grieving one thing or another. So I'm hopeful that she might be able to get some in with some human resources places that could potentially add her services as a benefit to their employees. But she is rocking and rolling right now, and I do think a lot of that had to do with the work that we did together.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm curious, do you have any big visions for the future in terms of where you'd like to take this work?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, it's no secret, but it's not well known that I have been writing a book, my very first book.
Congrats.
And the book's going to be called Unleashed, but I haven't decided the subtitle yet. And it's about my story, my journey as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a Christian, as a person who feared rejection and worried about what everybody else thought, and as a woman who's been trying to figure out what my purpose is, from all of those aspects, and different chapters about that, and then some reflection questions and ideas for people to think on their own and help come to where they need to be to feel like they're not being tied down by things that don't matter. So that's going to be coming out this fall. I don't have a specific date, but I have a feeling that it's going to take not take me away from what I'm doing now, but it's going to branch off in a new direction for some speaking opportunities in groups, maybe women's small groups. There might be book groups that would meet this. Because I do talk about my faith, it could lead to some avenues down that road, but it's not exclusive. If you don't share my faith, I still think you would find that the principles I talk about are good. But that's my perspective, and that's what I talk about, is I have to be in alignment with who I am. So, and I would want that for everyone else. But that's coming on the horizon. I envision when I can travel again, doing a lot of travel, but I'm grateful that I get to be able to connect with people through the computer right now. And I just feel like there's more, and I'm waiting to see, but I think the book is key to it. I think this new slogan that I have is called Speak Up with Heart, and that is kind of the new way I'm thinking about things. HEART is an acronym. H stands for honesty, E is for empathy, A is for alignment, R is for resolve, and T is for tone. So thinking about all of those things to make sure that you can convey what matters to you when you speak. I think that's going to take off and go somewhere. I just don't know yet, but I'm ready. My word for 2020 is ready. So I'm hashtag ready in 2020. I guess you do it like that. Hashtag
Yeah.
ready in 2020. That's me, whatever it takes.
That's awesome. Well, and it sounds like you operate very much as we do. I mean, people laugh when, they know we're sitting here in a motorhome and we're going, from place to place, and they're like, "Well, where are you off to yet?" And we're like, "We don't know yet." Because we're looking for that guidance. We're looking for that next, evolution of, what it is we are to be doing and how we are to do it. So right now, we know we're going to be hanging around Central North Carolina for at least another couple of weeks, but after that,
who knows?
Where?
That's right. It's all about the journey, and it's all about making a difference right where you are with what you have.
Yes. And boy, those words that you just said are probably the words that I've heard repeated the most since the beginning of this year by more people than I've ever heard before. People are just saying, you got to do what you can with what you have right now.
Yep.
And stop delaying because you don't have this or that's not quite right or whatever. It's like, no. We need you to live from that heart song now.
Absolutely. I so agree.
Awesome. Well, did you have any question for Miss Helen?
No, just go for it. Is what I said.
Yeah. Well, we definitely would love for you to tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, great. The easiest way, which is pretty easy to remember, is to go to my website, helenmoses.com.
Awesome.
And from there, you can find buttons to press to connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And you can even find a way to reach out to me and book a call, and we can chat for 15 minutes or so. And I can learn more about your story and your voice and what you want to do with it.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see where the Creator leads you off to next, because I do believe that what you're doing is very important. I think it's extremely difficult. And the phrase that came to mind when I was listening to you talk is, if I had to describe what Helen's doing, I would say she's connecting people's head with their heart so that they can be able to verbalize both.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's right. That's exactly right. Thank you for that summary. You got it.
Good deal. Well, again, we look forward to following your journey and seeing how we can help out along the way. And we wish you safe travels in all that you're doing.
Well, thank you. And same to both of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in this week. And if you're not catching on the drift on this yet, you need to. It's time for you to figure out what your piece of the super puzzle is. Because if we were all living from our heart song, from this place like what Helen is describing, we would be living in health, wealth, and peace on this planet. And the fact that we're not at the space where we want to be just means there's not enough of us building our piece of the puzzle yet. Get busy.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Helen, and thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.